Market, Aurora.
My question is to the Minister of Finance. Speaker, this morning in Public Accounts Committee, it was confirmed that the entire government, certainly the Ministry of Finance, was fully briefed before Ornge floated a $275 million bond offer. It was also confirmed that that debt, which was implied to be guaranteed by the Government of Ontario, is, according to the Secretary of Cabinet, not really the responsibility of the government.
Oh, what is it?
Given the scandal at Ornge, I'd like to know from the Minister of Finance, what does he have to say to those bondholders as to who will secure the debt that they hold?
Thank you. Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I would remind the member opposite of the entire testimony that was given today. Ornge was consolidated into the financial statements of the province starting in 2007-8. Like other senior Canadian governments, Ontario's consolidated financial statements are prepared in accordance with the accounting standards independently established by the Public Sector Accounting Board. The consolidation of financial information has no bearing on the roles and responsibilities of an agency or organization, its board of directors, or responsible ministry for program management. As Ornge is not a provincial crown agent and the province of Ontario did not guarantee the bond issue, no one was the government's approval of the financing required, Mr. Speaker. That was the full testimony, Mr. Speaker. It's consistent with public accounting. It's consistent with the treatment of debt on provincial statements, not only here, but across Canada and other jurisdictions.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Well, now we know the minister can read. But we also know that he doesn't understand the question.
He also doesn't know how to count.
I made it very clear, Speaker, that what we heard today from the Secretary of Cabinet was that, in his opinion, the Government of Ontario is not responsible.
Minister of the Environment, come to order.
My question, Speaker, to the Minister is, what does he say to the holders of those bonds, $275 million worth, who, given the scandal at Ornge, given the bankruptcy of most of those companies, who will stand good to pay the $275 million, and who will pay for the interest on those bonds? Will the Minister tell us who will stand behind that debt?
Thank you. Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the Secretary of Cabinet was entirely correct. The government did not back up the bonds, and bondholders purchased them with that full knowledge and disclosure, Mr. Speaker. That's the way it is. What we haven't talked a lot about, Mr. Speaker, on this is a chap named Kelly Mitchell. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Kelly Mitchell. He is a Progressive Conservative Party stalwart. He was paid almost $400,000 by Ornge to lobby and schmooze the PC party for Ornge and its profits. At the same time, he's on the board of directors for Ornge and 5 for-profit companies. Same companies that paid Chris Mazza $1.4 million, Mr. Speaker. He was also, Kelly Mitchell was also a top fundraiser and close advisor to Mr. Hudak's leadership campaign, Mr. Speaker. His company donated $17,000 to the party, 15 candidates, and he personally donated $7,500. We'll be exploring those relations.
Minister, take your seat. Minister, take your seat. A reminder.
Thank you. To the Minister of Finance. Minister, I am asking this question because I believe the financial markets will be very interested to know what the Finance Minister of the Province of Ontario has to say about a $275 million bond offering that is out there, that has been taken up by investors. Now we're told that the organization behind that bond offering, namely Ornge, is no longer the entity that it was when, in fact, that offering was made. We hear the Finance Minister tell us that the Government of Ontario is not responsible. The organization behind that is the Air Ambulance Service of Ontario. will the province of Ontario allow Ornge to default on that offering?
Question, thank you. Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that the member raises issues that came up in committee, because we have some issues we'd like to raise in committee. Exactly. Will that member and his party agree to have Kelly Mitchell come before the committee?
Interesting.
Will you? We are given to understand that this member, who was a member of the board of Ornge, made $17,000 in donations. He made a donation to the leader of your party, to the member for Simcoe North, to Whitby Oshabaw, Leeds Grenville, Halliburton, Carworth, Kawartha, Lakes Brock, Lanark, Frontenac, Addington, and Thornhill. Those are all contributions. Did he inform any of your members? Did he talk to your members about these issues at all? So I would ask the member, we're interested to know,
Answer.
Will you agree here and now today to bring Mr. Mitchell before the committee so we can understand the full extent of the relationship of your caucus?
Supplementary.
Well, Speaker, the government House Leader will inform the Minister of Finance that anyone who is called by the committee will show up. And if not, we'll issue a Speaker's warrant. But I want to go back to the question I asked the Minister that the financial markets are very interested to hear. Will the Minister of Finance of the province of Ontario allow that $275 million bond offering to default? Will he stand up and tell us whether, notwithstanding what the agreement said, will the government of Ontario stand behind that debt?
Thank you, Minister of Finance.
The member didn't answer the question. Will they agree to bring Kelly Mitchell before the committee, Mr. Speaker? They're stonewalling in this House in front of the cameras, Mr. Speaker. They're playing the same game they've been playing right from the beginning with this, Mr. Speaker. The simple question, Mr. Speaker.
Order, please. Minister.
So will they call Mr. Mitchell to appear before the committee? And I remind the member that he was paid Mr. Mitchell was paid almost $400,000 to lobby and schmooze you and your party on behalf of Ornge. Will you or will you not agree to call him, or will you continue to stonewall and play silly political games instead of working with us to get at the real truth?
Your question? The member from Toronto, Danforth. Aurora.
Well, back to the Minister of Finance, Speaker. I want to bring to the Minister's attention just how serious this question is, and the fact that this is not about playing politics in a sandbox. This is about a very serious question to the Minister of Finance about $275 million of debt that was used by Ontario's Air Ambulance Service to buy a fleet of helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft and a number of other assets. The Minister is saying that the Government of Ontario is not responsible for that debt. They have put into bankruptcy companies that comprise most of that Ornge organization. There is one organization left, and that is the organization supplying the Air Ambulance Service.
Question, the member from Peterborough, come to order.
The Minister is this. Will the Government of Ontario guarantee the interest payments and the principal of that $275 million bond offering?
Minister of Finance.
Repeat for the member what I said right at the very beginning. The Government of Ontario will honour its commitments. There would have been a prospectus, a syndicate. All these things would have been very clearly disclosed as to whose obligations are what, Mr. Speaker. And so until he's read those, which I'm quite certain he hasn't, and if he has, I'd like him to share with me the sections that say that Ontario has guaranteed them. Mr. Speaker, we'll look forward to continuing to work on getting this thing back in order. and continuing at the committee hearing. And that's why we want to hear from Kelly Mitchell, Mr. Speaker. And so, you know, we do 35 to 40 billion a year in bond issues, Mr. Speaker. They continue to sell out around the world. They continue to be repaid according to schedule. In fact, indeed, we've been paying them back ahead of schedule. The Government of Ontario will honour all of its undertakings, its commitments, Mr. Speaker, and I'd be curious to hear what the members' views on the prospectus are and on the syndicate who underwrote it were and what their undertakings were.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Well, I want to assure the Minister of Finance that I did read the prospectus, and if he reads it, he will also see that the Government of Ontario is very prominent throughout that entire offering. There is an implied guarantee by the province of Ontario, and now what I want to know is, will the Government of Ontario stand behind that? And by the way, the Minister introduces a very interesting scenario, because through Infrastructure Ontario, there are many, many more offerings very similar to this that offer the same implied guarantee, and yet we want to know, is the Government of Ontario in fact guaranteeing those bond offerings? Will the Minister at least answer that question once and for all?
Thank you. Minister.
I won't use the same kind of language that he has, but the word implied is very interesting. Obviously, he's read it and he knows what the undertakings are, and it's a shame he chose to play politics before he revealed that in the House. I should say that Ornge is still responsible for the bonds, Mr. Speaker, and yes, Mr. Speaker, Ornge still has a very good credit rating. Quit playing games. Call Kelly Mitchell. Let's work together to fix this once and for all.
Thank you. New question, the member from Beaches, East York.
Thank you very much.